Okay, so we are videoing our UVA data dig and action plan for 4th grade math right now. This is the first time that we've done this, so we'll have a lot of questions and it'll be probably a little sloppy, but that's okay. So we're gonna get started. Miss Johnson can't talk, by the way, which is funny, so I'll help her.
Okay, so we'll start with the first box in our data dig, which is priorities, standards for the assessment. If you'll look at your building data, that would be, you have a copy of it, it's black and white. You have TEKS data on one side and building data on the other. If you look at the building data, you'll see that actually I'm gonna let you look at the building data and see if you see something that jumps out at you.
And you'll have the one with the standards, correct?
Yeah, you're looking at the learning standards. Look at the learning standards for the building and see what you think. It's not the one with the teachers' names, it's the other. So what was fabulous?
The same thing as that
What?
4.2.
So that's our only readiness for that unit. And that's the one that we rocked, was the readiness unit, the readiness skill. So remember on STAR, that's the one where they get the most questions from, is the readiness. So our kids are already on track where they need to be for that one. So did a fabulous job on the readiness. The lowest is, which was the 10 times in 1/10. Last year was the first time they asked it in 3 years. So is that where we want to put our focus in for our spiraling back? Is that going to be the bang for our buck or not?
So I guess what my question is do we have, Desiree, I think you have blueprint data and historical testing data that we can look at so that we can make a good judgment, because we want it to be a higher priority standard, that if we're going to go back and intervene or reteach or even enrich, we want to make a good decision on that.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So on the supporting standards, because our readiness, our 4.2B, our readiness, there's been 2 every year, so that's not a one and done. So that's a good focus where we're already into 70% at the beginning of the year. So if you look at 4.2A, never been tested until the 2018 STAR. 4.2D, it was tested in 2017, and that's the only time it's been tested in 4 years, once in 4 years. 4.2E has been tested 3 times in the last 4 years. So that might require an asterisk or some way to look at that. 4.2F has been tested, it was tested in 15-16, but not 17-18. So it could come back around soon. 4.2H is the same way, twice 2 years ago. And then our 4.3G was only tested in 2017. So if we're looking at where they tend to ask more questions, I think our 4.2E, which is our decimal representation, I think that's where we need to go back, and you need to find your kids and grab your kids on that one.
Because it's the 11 numbers.
Yeah, it's besides the 110 and the 10 times, it's down there in the bottom. 4.2D is it's 51%, and that's rounding. So, we continue to round throughout the whole year anyway with our number of the day and word problems and that kind of thing. So I think that our 4.2E is probably gonna be the more bang for our buck as far as really focusing in to get the best return.
And that standard is
That's the decimal representation.
decimal.
Yes.
Is
two priorities, do y'all think, I mean, we know that we're gonna have at least 2 readiness questions. Is that gonna spiral in throughout the year? Do we think we'll be okay there, or do we wanna grab 2 supporting standards?
We can continue with the readiness, because, you know, that was on the test, it was like two questions, I think. So there's many different ways they can still continue to ask it. So it wouldn't hurt to continue to focus on it. The 4.2D, so it's rounding, and we always continue that one in anyway, because we continue to round with multiplication and we continue to round with division.
Yeah, just a question.
So do you wanna do the readiness, or do you want to use the rounding? To spiral back in.
The readiness that we're high on?
The readiness that we were high on, but remember it was only 2 questions, and that's just your generic place value,
And
so
like
there's
you
so
said,
many
yeah,
different ways they
right.
could do that.
The spiral rounding, like, all the time, it's in a lot of different things, so.
And we haven't covered all of our operations yet, so this was just rounding in general, we still have to do rounding with adding and subtracting, we have to do rounding and multiplication, so I think rounding is probably just gonna continue to spiral in with our problem solving. So we will stick with our readiness standard as well and continue to spiral that one back into, and when we formulate our plan, we'll need to make sure that you find, we've got plenty of resources that were still in there for the, back in place value. Just go back and look in the unit 1 and pull any resources that you need to pull out of there. If you need additional resources, let us know and we'll look for those. So,
You said the 4.2B is,
that's the
Just
readiness,
the
that's the all-inclusive
place
place
value.
value, expanded notation with whole numbers and with decimal numbers.
So what about 4.2S?
4.2 what?
4.2E, the supporting.
That's gonna be our main focus is 4.2E,
4.2E, okay.
which is the decimal representation.
Okay.
surprises me that that was so bad.
Typically, if you remember historically, whenever we start putting our fractions in with our decimals, when they start putting them together,
Then they get it
then
more.
it kind of becomes more concrete to them, because it actually looks like a fraction.
Yeah.
So on your data dig, our priority standards are going to be 4.2B, which is our readiness. And like I said, the kids really shined on it, they did a great job. But we still wanna keep spiraling that one back in. And then 4.2E, which is our decimal representation.
And I thought the same thing when I looked at that. I was like, I was glad that almost 80% did get to that readiness standard. I mean, the supporting, those are new concepts, so I thought that was good.
So on the 4.2E, if you look at the back of your building plan, you'll see teacher data. So 4.2E, which was our decimal representation. So, Ms. Keller, you have 70%. You want to share with us what you did?
Yes.
That was fabulous.
I don't know what I did that was fabulous. We did, I don't know if I pulled any fast focus, but I feel like maybe I should have done some more fast focus. I mean, we do the numeracy power up some.
I haven't even thought about pulling those out.
I have those. Number of the day I think helps with that. I mean, just the stuff that we always are doing. I mean, the stuff we're already doing, you know. I don't know one thing in particular I did that was different.
Numeracy power up.
I didn't even think about pulling the fast focuses.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled in like 1 or 2 maybe, but I like those because they're gonna like hone in on that, you know, particular skill or whatever. So,
Okay.
Did you do that during warm up? When did you push it in?
yeah, I mean, I did the Texas tornado like everybody else has done.
But you
And
could
then
pull
the-
that fast
yeah.
focus into a station, because they're the
They're
little
the
half
ones
sheet
that are-
ones.
yeah.
Aren't they a lot?
Well, yeah,
They're
yeah.
the little half sheets.
They have like 4 on one and 4 on
Yeah.
like you could do half and half.
half and half.
Yeah, so is the numeracy that you could do half and half.
And sticks to one T, is that what
Yes,
that-
it sticks to, yeah,
To
one
one
T,
T, just keep
yes,
practicing on one.
yeah.
When did you do it in your class?
When did I do
use it? Yeah.
Yeah, for like she said, for like
Like a
warm up.
warm-up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, and on the readiness, the 4.2B, Ms. Shiflett, you had like almost 83% of your kids. You wanna tell us, can you think of anything that was your generic place value that you did that jumped out? Don't be shy.
Not particularly.
Sure you did. There's some just practice, practice.
Yeah.
Really, with the place value. I didn't do anything, we used a lot of the place value maths.
The math,
I pulled those out a lot, just to help me refresh, cause I noticed a lot of them don't remember the order of them. If I just was to give a place value quiz, they couldn't remember the order, so I pulled it out a lot just to help.
okay.
So do you feel like you did more visually or more manipulatives after your small
More
group?
visual.
Visual
than
with the math?
manipulatives. Yeah, I didn't do like place value blocks at all, but it was more visual.
Anybody have any questions for our experts?
Yeah.
Didn't mean to put you on spot there.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Okay, so our team summative goal, our next box, our team summative goal, and if I'm too fast, yeah. Our team summative goal was, Ellen, where's the team summative goal, you wanna read that off?
Sure. By May 2019, fourth grade administration of Math Star, 83% of students will achieve approaches standards, 50% of students will achieve meet standards, and 30% of students will achieve master standards by using guided math workshops, small group instruction, spiral reviews including countdown to STAR, and planning using backwards design.
So to kind of reflect back on those numbers, the approaches was,
Approaches was 50%.
so that's your kids that are just there, and our satisfactory.
Oh no, I'm so
number-
sorry, 83% approach.
And what's masters? 3?
30%.
30%. So the satisfactory level on on the building data is 70%, and the advanced level is 90%, which is much higher than what STAR is gonna be considering. So we still need to make sure that we focus on those, the readiness, because the readiness is going to be the way to get you over the top as well. So do we need to, we don't need to do anything to our summative goal at this time, is that right, Destiny?
Right, right, and it's hard to look at your summative goal right now too, because that is based on STAR and STAR passing standards, so, it's a little more difficult to look at that. I think when we look at SBAs, we can, and interim assessments, we'll be able to look at those better, but, I think right now, pulling it down to the standard and knowing what our priorities are and what we need to go back to is, I think that's real focused, first, so I think we're good there. It's gonna be difficult, we're looking at things differently, now.
So if you'll look back at your Kubitschek information, so we can look at our sub-hops. So first off, notice that out of our 350 kids that tested, 189 of them are EcoDis. It's a huge population. So if you compare our EcoDis kids to all kids, if you'll notice that on that readiness standard, they're not that far apart. They're just 73 and 70, 179 and 174. So our EcoDis are not really that far below the all kids range.
So we know our big 3 areas of focus are EcoDis, LEP, and special ed indicators. Y'all just take a look at that and just, what do you see or what do you think?
There's a huge difference on 4.2H between the LEP and the SPED. There's like a 30-point spread.
Honestly, when I looked at the readiness standard for LEP, I didn't think it was too, I didn't think it was too bad, honestly,
Yeah.
because, in third grade, a lot of our higher students who are ESL, they're released from the program, and so we're usually left with kids that are struggling. So I just thought even it's a 10-point, but I've seen that's a closer, I think the gap is closer to we can close it than I've seen in the past. I think that's a good start.
Over half of our SPED kids are already mastering the readiness skill. That's in the first month of school, so yay for us. Anybody else see anything they'd like to note? Desiree, feel free to jump in, Miss Matt. Anytime. Do you have anything you could suggest from going to the other team meetings as well, as far as what you've heard fifth grade saying about their place value, or what you've heard what third grade is doing with their place value?
No, I mean, it's all still the beginning right now, and so, I mean, they're just moving through. I think, you know, it sounds like.
So I know they're struggling already in fifth grade with multiplication facts.
Yeah, that's multiplication and division at the beginning, and, but they haven't mentioned that
They
they've
haven't
had
said
any
anything about
struggles
place
about place value, no. But they haven't gotten into place value yet, that's coming up, they'll be doing,
There you go.
they'll be doing a decimal place value soon, but they are not there yet. And so, right now it's been a lot of whole number addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, prime and composite, those kinds of things, so we're really not there yet.
Okay.
So, but I will let you know when we get there.
Okay.
Thanks for calling out.
You're usually not so quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really like trying to take notes while you take it in.
Anybody else want to add anything?
No, I would like to kind of hear from some of you that have these I think we all have the ego disadvantage kind of sprinkled throughout. But when we move in and create plans, we have to consider those big ESL and special ed populations. Any ideas of you who are ESL teachers or co-teacher inclusion, some ideas that you may have that you may implement with these guys that's different, or something that you see that's working that you want to do with them?
One thing I do is I do a lot of word problems in small groups, so they're actually reading it, so they're used to seeing these words. And I even have them highlight important words, and we talk about why those words are important and what they tell us, and how do we know that we're using that word correctly. And so I think just having them reading out loud and talking about the problem really helps them a lot, you know, using the vocabulary. Because sometimes they stumble on a word and they're sitting trying to read Gonzalez, and I'm like, just say Miss G and move on. They're like, oh, I can do that. So that helps, you know, with their frustration of trying to read. So.
I saw Brooke in a small group today with her translator for her friend
Yes.
speaking into the phone, and it was
Yeah.
translating back. So, yeah, absolutely, vocabulary and making sure they understand, and that's the biggest part for our ESL students. Because you have ESL, and who else has the ESL population in their classroom? You have ESL? Anything you
We've
add to
been
that?
dissecting word problems.
That's all they do.
So
That sounds
we take
interesting.
it like sentence by sentence, or anytime you reach a punctuation, like a comma or something, and we talk about what's in between it, you know. And then we take notes about what those words mean and write symbols for what it means and stuff. So I think that's really been helping me a lot.
Do most of them come in the same small group with you?
Yes.
Yeah, I would figure so. What do you think for special ed?
Well, mine are ESL and special ed.
Oh,
so
yeah,
they're-
that's right.
Yeah, so that you choose. So we just we're using like manipulative, and we're all talking and using words too, but with the mean special ed, we're also using the manipulatives with the words.
So what do y'all think with this particular, let's just look at the readiness standard. What do you think you would do? Cause I don't know if this is a reteach skill because we have a pretty high percentage there. It's probably more of your kids that missed those questions. So any suggestions, cause we're about to have to write some actions in here. So any suggestions on what maybe you would do in a reteach group? The other one, the 5E, I mean, that's at 59%, so that may also be included in a small group or spelled back into your warm up. So any suggestions on what you could do with those small groups with those particular objectives?
I like what Ms. Shiplet said about getting out the place value mats and going back and how she really used those. That's a good reteach, especially because like you said, if the kids are missing it, it's probably, just consider down
I
there.
also think a lot of the LEP and the SPED get overwhelmed by the lengthy words. A lot of them will just give up on the reading. So like you're saying, breaking it up and teaching them that all this is just so much extra information, and really breaking it up would help. And it's lots of words to suffer through something simple.
One of the strategies we're using at the junior high for our LEP kids is we're giving them an English and Spanish, one below the other. That way the kid can see what it is in English, but if they're concerned, they can look over, oh, that's what it is. Read it in their native language. In y'all's team that we have, I just uploaded a video that I made about immersive reader and translator. It's in our O365 account. Every child has it to convert, translate their language, but it also has an overlay in it for our kids who are dyslexic kids. It has overlays, it has spacing, it has a picture dictionary in it. All of that is free, and every kid has access to it. I also uploaded about maybe 10 links for 4.2 TEKS, A through H, of digital interactives for you to use and for kids to use to teach just place value, rounding, that kind of stuff. So if y'all look in your teams, I've uploaded it in there. But if you want me to come over, and Brooke, I have that laptop, I'm working on that laptop for him. And if you have an ESL kid that needs their own laptop so that they can have it with them and they can use that translator all the time, let me know, because I'm working on those right now. So there's some tools out there for our ESL kids if we need that, and our dyslexic pop. So let me know if you need help with that.
I tell you what, Gina the other day, I sent her an email. She was in there in like 2 minutes. I was like, what? Like, how to like transport yourself now or something? It was funny, but she will. She'll come in and help you out for sure.
The tools on the immersive reader, even for your students who do speak English, are really neat. If you put a word problem in there, they can click a word if they don't understand it, and it'll read it to them, and then it'll show them a picture of what it means. So it's really neat for those kids, or any kids who are struggling with reading, like even your LLI kids, things like that. Just that extra support when they're being independent.
Does everybody have the place value mats that Shannon's talking about?
No, you don't.
Okay, well, we can
They
look
should
into
be in that, it should be
Ones,
attached.
tens, and hundreds, or which?
No, it's the ones and then the decimal point and the tenths and the hundredths. We had them last year.
Is that under your-
I made one on a Word document.
So she made her own.
It went further, I'm guessing it went to the billions, or how far did
To
it
the
go?
100,000.
100,000.
back
And then if we need it, if we happen to have a word problem that went, they just wrote it on their desk as an extra. And then of course document.
And then
I just made it on a Word document, just real
Yeah.
simple, cardstock laminated. They write on it a lot, just used it a lot.
Okay. Is there a way you can share that, or maybe put it in the backwards plan resources?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think it's
Okay.
time to put some
Okay.
plans.
So let's get our plan together for how we are going to spiral these back in, or not necessarily reteach our 4.2, but some of our E kids might need a reteach on that decimal stuff. With the decimal place value, if you use the place value mat, that would be a plan. Using the fast focus, pulling those the fast focus and honing in on the one little individual piece of it that they may not be able to get. The fast focus is
Sophia Bordeaux, please come to the front office. Sophia Bordeaux.
I
I believe the Fast Focus is in the shared drive. I don't know if it's in the shared point yet.
I'm the one that initially gave that to you guys, because I brought it from my old district when I gave it to Lisa 5 years ago.
Oh,
So
we bought Fast Focus for 4th grade. We have all the stuff from Baker Cash.
I have it for 5th, if you guys wanna see where they're going, the team numbers might be right, but I have what 5th is using if you guys wanna look at it. And I have a hard copy, if you just scan it in.
Okay. We have the 4th grade, it should be scanned in somewhere in there, and if Shane could remind me, I'll make sure that we find where it is in the computer and get it to you, so you can see what it is. Okay, so team plan, what are we going to do? And when are we going to do it by? We need the SMART goal, is that correct? Does it have to be SMART? I mean, it's not something that we necessarily want to retest.
Well, that's kind of what we talked about, is maybe pulling maybe a couple questions into another unit at the end if we wanted to reassess. Or we could do it a different way, but I think at some point, if it was an exit ticket or something.
That's what I was thinking, more of an exit ticket rather than a sit-down reassessment.
3rd grade and 5th grade are just adding them into their unit assessments, so like maybe not the next one, but whichever one, like they said, we're gonna do this for 2 weeks, and then, oh, look, unit 3 assessments there, we're just gonna throw 2 questions on unit 3 assessment.
So are they taking away, so are they ending up with longer unit assessments, or,
Yes,
so they're gonna increase their amount of questions?
yes.
So
Okay.
it's usually, I think I was hearing that they were gonna do around 10 for that current unit and then maybe add in.
Yeah, so not like going really high or anything, but still keeping it in that 10 to 12 range total.
Okay,
But that's just an option, and that's what they decided to do, instead of doing something separate, that way it's bubbled, you have, when you go back, you have all of your,
You have the data.
Yeah,
you have all your
clean
data. Mhm.
okay, so we can put that on the end of our unit. Since we're taking unit 2 right now, we can put it on the end of unit 3, which won't be tested until the first week in October, which isn't really that far away. Or we can put it on our unit 4, which is right before fall break.
That's not too far away.
No, because we only have 2 more bus duties until it's fall break.
Really?
I have 2 more Wednesdays and then it's fall break.
What, really? I know, that's crazy.
That's fast.
Okay, let's go ahead and just get some action plan items down.
So we're gonna focus on the Fast Focus. Utilizing the Fast Focus. Reteaching with the place value math. And remember, 4.2E is decimal representation, so that's where you wanna make sure you use that 1 in tenths and hundredths that is in it's attached to the backwards plan, it's on there. So reteaching using the place value math as needed. And we have the place value discs as well. Remember, there's all those 1/10ths and the 1/100ths discs that you can use on those place value maths as representations of numbers as well. And so once we go through our reteach, you focus on which kids you need to pull for that. Remember, you have there's that report that you can pull that's got the incorrect response report. That's at the bottom underneath reports that tell you which kids missed it. But remember, it's got that little drop down that if you want to do it, you can do it by question or you can do it by standard. So if you pull it by standard, it groups all your standards together. So if there were like 3 questions on that one standard, if there's a kid in there one time, you might not want to see them as often as if they were in there for all 3 questions or 2 out of the 3 questions.
Well, you can pull a report too that has, what they made on each standard.
Yes.
Have it somewhere, which that's what I'm using for my pre-teach
Your
and stuff.
reteach.
Yeah.
And then once we focus on those kids and you focus on which kids you need to, we will add 2 more 4.2E questions. Not, do you want to do 1B and 1E, or do you want to focus on just 1, or do you want to focus on 2 E's?
I think it'd be good to add a B in there.
So 1B and 1E.
Yeah. Just to make sure they're not missing it again.
wonder too, and I know we probably don't have this, but it's something that we could look at, is what level of rigor that was tested at for the readiness. I wonder if, are those more low and an average, or, that would just be something interesting for us to look into.
The status has her unit test.
Hmm?
The status has
To
her.
have the test.
Oh,
It was a very tough test.
There was.
I think it was tough.
And it was the first time that they saw word problem.
Yes.
Yes, very
For
first
this
time.
year.
well, and it also didn't give that practice time that we
Exactly.
decided
did
we
it
needed
first
to.
and
then we had to test.
Yeah. And I went back through it with some of them and they're like, oh, well, I didn't see where it said that I had to have 7 tenths. So they missed like those keywords because they missed the whole lesson on, we need to highlight keywords and circle them and all that kind of stuff. So that's why they missed most of those questions. And some of them were like, I can't believe I missed this. I'm like, I know.
Neither
I
can
feel
I.
the same way.
Yeah,
Sorry,
'cause we had
whatever.
just been teaching it.
Yeah, so they didn't have time to
Get it
Now
out
it's
as more.
problem solving strategies and
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Kind of makes you think if we regave the test, what?
I know. Yeah, what
Redo the
what's
same
difference?
thing, read the same test in about 6
Exact
weeks and
same
just see what they do
test.
differently
The
on it.
practice they had during stations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're seeing that across the grade level, like the kids are coming back and it's the first test and they haven't had a lot of time to talk about problem solving and strategies and things, and I mean, it shows when you haven't had a chance to go over that stuff again, even if coming to 4th or even the 5th graders that have seen it before, they forget to do those things unless you're like, don't
Or-
forget.
She gonna let me get out of it, like.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna be
See
like,
if she
this
holds me to
is
the
not
next
real.
station.
Pardon this interruption, Ms. Hull, please call 9600. Ms. Hull, 9600.
Alright, and I think that bottom piece could be for, individualized, like groups of kids in there, if there's something specific, that you want it to do with ESL SPED, or you can just kind of put your thoughts down and, 'cause, I mean, this is your plan.
Do we need to all have the same action plan?
I think for the team, generally, some of the things that came out that we felt were good, good activities for the kids. But you're gonna have specific things for your kids,
In the team action plan as well?
no, in your individual.
Okay, so that's what I'm
Individual.
saying, is do we need to come up with one sentence for the team action plan for the team?
It's just items, it's just action items is all it is.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not an actual
It's a
goal,
it's a plan,
things you need to do, it's more of a,
so I will say that when we, what we're finding is when we go into units, is we probably need to, when we backwards design, and we're not gonna go back and do this or anything, but moving forward, when we look at our TEKs and we see what those priority TEKs are and we talk about them, that we probably want to build a formative goal then, so that we can reflect when we come back here on
Okay.
where were we and how did we do, and then I think that that's just part of the process, is we probably need to do that next time. But for
on our
now,
front end loading day,
huh,
on our front end loading day when we're backwards planning?
you can,
Okay.
that could be part of it, cause I think your pacing guides are already done, so. But no, y'all have to just, for this, let's do the action item. I mean, the important part is that it's happening, that we're implementing and then we're reassessing and seeing where we're at. So,
And I already put it on the backwards plan, I've sent you a new version of it with it, and I just stuck it in that same section as the TEKS, it's not even a new section, it's just right there, so.
Did you put it on all 13 of my units?
No. I mean, it's like a copy and paste situation here, cause it's like 3 words,
Okay, so
like I just put it right there.
it says, like now, it says readiness, TEK supporting, and then it says formative goal.
So it's like right there, and then on the side I put it too, where it says TEKS, like on the, in the blue
In the blue?
rectangle. It says TEKS informative, goals.
Okay.
And the thing is we weren't quite sure how we were gonna assess, and so we built it in the beginning as a 9-week goal. In the 9-week goal you created was, I think your unit right
It's
now.
our last one. No, it's our
Is it
multiplications.
unit 3?
No, it's unit 4.
4, it's 2 by 2, so, right?
Oh, no, it is unit 3, it's
Unit
2 by 2.
three. It's 2
Yes,
by
it's
2.
right now.
So.
But we don't test it until like the first week in October.
Right, So we need to, because we're assessing differently, we gotta create goals differently, so, and we're gonna do it as we go. But, that's good.
Make sure you take your data dig and put it in your Indian Insider with your goals. So if you have to meet with your appraiser, you have your information with you.